All right. Hello, 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 guys. Let me just try to fix this because I'm like not feeling. There we go. What's up, Ty? Ty, I think we missed you last week, right? I'm drinking coffee, guys. Yes. All right. That's okay. But hey, listen, I pay attention. All right. Let's I pay attention. My ADD only wants to kick in when it wants to kick in. So I'm going to let some people join in the meantime, because I know this is going to be on the stream. For anyone who is new to the channel, for anyone who crosses this when it is on the stream, this is Narc Survival 101. It's a place where you get to learn a lot of different things with regards to how to survive narcissistic abuse, possibly how to avoid it. And of course, this channel is meant to support people. We missed you too, Ty. It's to support those who are victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse, domestic abuse, any form of abuse, and just to help people get through the motions. It's pretty much all it really is. So anyone who is new to the channel, if you haven't already, go through my content. You can go through the videos, and if you have any other questions, you can always send me a message. I'll be more than glad to help you with whatever it is you would need help with. This is a weekly live. Again, for anyone who's new, this is a weekly live. It's a weekly mental health check-in, and this is for people who just, need to vent, need support, or are looking to support other people. That's what we're here for. Hi, Riri. How are you, sweetheart? And it's on every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also catch me on TikTok as well if you have a TikTok page. I usually do lives Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but, rotating the weeks. So subscribe and you'll be notified. So, guys, I know there are more people. Hopefully they'll be able to make it. If not, it's understandable. It's 4th of July weekend. I don't know if you guys, I have a 3-day weekend, thankfully. If you do as well, I hope you have a great weekend, because I can't remember the last time I had a 3-day weekend. That's all you can do, Riri. You can only, just work on it yourself and day by day, step by step. That's all we can do. But that's always a good thing. So getting your life together, getting it in order is always a good thing. And guys, I wanted to share something with you with regards to something that happened out here in New York. If anyone is new to the channel, I am from New York City. About a few days ago, and this is what really gets me going when it boils down to the severity of why healing from narcissistic abuse, domestic abuse is important, and why, if anyone has ever abused you in a relationship, whether it be emotionally, psychologically, physically, anyone has, abused not only you in that sense, but abused their authority, abused power, and just managed to really turn your your life upside down, turn your perception of yourself and relationships upside down. It's always, always, always important to not only get away from the situation, but stay away from the situation. Okay. I know what it is to be in a physically abusive relationship because I have been in that type of relationship. And usually, if someone says, it'll never happen again, I'm sorry, you let them slip once, it's going to continue to happen. Okay. Someone putting their hands on you, someone who is abusing their authority, abusing their power within your relationship, is not someone that you want to be connected with. It's not someone that you want to be in a relationship with. I don't condone violence. I don't condone abuse. I don't condone any of it. All right. Just like I don't condone infidelity. I don't condone any of it. But a few days ago, there was a young woman who was walking her child. Hi, Turquoise. How are you, sweetheart? There was a young woman who was walking her child in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. If you're not familiar with that area, it's, if you've seen in the movies, Central Park, it's like, the biggest park in, I guess it is the biggest park in New York, right? It's the biggest park in New York City. And the area that she was walking in is high class.
Upscale doctors, lawyers.
Yeah, it's an upscale class neighborhood. They have doctors, lawyers, executives, people who love to stay in those areas. And I guess you can deem it as being a safe area. This young woman was walking her child. She was pushing her child in a stroller and was shot in the back of the head. Right there. And in the middle, what was it? Early evening. It was early evening. Shot in the back of the head while she was walking her child. And unfortunately, she succumbed to her injuries and she passed away. They just recently made an arrest with regards to her child's father. Okay, I don't know like the full details of it, but it's clear that the murder was, was a target. She was targeted. They also mentioned that she was in a domestic violence shelter. She was in a shelter for battered women. And ladies, this is very important for you. This is why advocates, this is why, activists, they do all of the things that they do, because this is extremely, extremely important. When someone abuses you, if someone puts their hands on you, if they get angry, if they yell, if they say mean and hurtful things to you, whatever the case may be, it is not because they love you. It is because they love control. They love the idea of being able to control you. They love the idea of putting fear into you to be able to control you. They love to intimidate you. They love to bully you. Okay? I know that there are plenty of women out there who are struggling, who are going through the motions, who are trying to break free from their abusive partners. And, they're still, it's very, very, yeah, it's very horrible. It's very painful. The young girl, I don't know if you guys, it's something that's gone pretty viral. She was, beautiful young girl. She was, I think, 22. She was about 22 years old, and looking at that, it just kind of makes you realize that no relationship is worth going through the motions or the emotions of this. Being as she was in a domestic violence DV shelter, it's, I'm led to believe that it's because of domestic violence. I mean, she was trying to get away from someone who was being abusive towards her. Was that her child's father? I don't know. I couldn't say. And again, I can't, sit here and say, oh yeah, he did it. But it was clear that her murder was targeted. It was targeted. And this right here, like seeing things like this in the news and seeing things like this, online, it's like, it kind of like, for me personally, it kind of makes me not want to get involved with anyone. It could, because, and I tell people this all the time. This is why I say, don't get revenge on them. Don't look for, ways to get back at them. Don't, I've told people this plenty of times too. Don't sit there and belittle them and degrade them and, put up. Yeah, because it's pretty much it can antagonize them. It can make them come to a point where, something can happen. They can have a bad day. They can snap. And look, you just don't know. You just don't know. Being a survivor is one thing, but being a victim turned bitter is another thing. And I try to explain this to people plenty of times. Do not sit there putting up things that will antagonize that individual, because you don't know where their mind frame is. You don't know what they're capable of doing. That young woman was walking the streets with her child. It was probably a beautiful day. We're in summer, and she wasn't thinking that, today's the day I'm going to die. And look at what happened. It's important that when they say no contact, you stay no contact. When they say run, don't walk, you run. Do not walk looking over your shoulder, wondering, are you going to come follow me? Are you going to follow me? Don't do it. Okay. I don't know if this person suffered a personality disorder. I don't know if this person has a mental illness. I don't know anything about this person's mind frame, but I do know that the person who killed this individual, or even possibly set it up for her to be killed, they have a mind frame of control. Maybe she didn't want to be with that person anymore. Maybe she was just trying to get away for the sake of her and her child. And you do have co-parents who are like, they make it seem like it's about the children, when the reality is it's not about the children, it's about the other parent. It's not about, oh, well, okay, we're not together anymore. So, let me just make sure that whoever it is, listen, if you're dealing with someone else and you're co-parenting, it is more than reasonable for that other parent to be concerned about who you're bringing around their child. Absolutely. I was just talking with Amanda about this. It's understandable. It's completely understandable. But if that other parent is simply making your life hard and making your life miserable and trying to, instill in you that, you're not, they're like, what they're pretty much doing is manipulating the situation, while they have other people thinking that, it's all about the child, it's all about the child, it's all about the child. The reality of it is that it's not all about the child. I don't want anybody else around my child. I don't want anybody that you're in a relationship with. I don't want anybody that you're dealing with around my child. It's about control. It is about control. And when someone who wants full and total control does not have that, and on top of that, they don't have the person that they're trying to control, things like this can happen. Things like this can happen. Yes, they think, how dare you break free and try to rebuild your life and be happy? Because, and listen, I don't know the nature of their relationship, how long they've been together, if maybe it was a back and forth thing. Maybe there were times that, they would break up to make up, to break up to make up. And, and maybe this time the breakups, stuck. And it was just, that's it. I'm done. Not doing it anymore. I'm not dealing with the abuse. I'm not dealing with it. And because, listen, in order for you to be in a domestic violence shelter, you have to, you have to be in like some serious fear for your life. Because shelters that are designed for women who are battered, hey, Heather, shelters that are designed for women that are battered, that have gone through domestic violence, these are supposed to be safe havens for these women who are trying to break free, who are trying to get away from a very abusive partner. Okay. Over the years, I would say over the past, decade and a half, every day when I would go to work, I would get a newspaper. And when I would get a newspaper, because, I would like to read what was going on. I mean, it was a local newspaper, but, they had other stuff for other states. And every day I would open up the newspaper, I would always hear about a woman being murdered. It was a constant thing. And what I've noticed is that the femicide, which is, the murder of women, was primarily due to domestic situations. So a lot of women, and I'm going to look up the statistics on this. I was talking to Amanda about this just like literally before we did the live. I'm going to look up the statistics of this because the majority of the time when a woman is murdered, it's usually due to a domestic situation. It's usually a targeted thing, a crime of passion. Okay. You will find situations where they're at the wrong place at the wrong time. You'll find situations where, it could be botched robbery, whatever the case may be. Okay. But it's usually because they're targeted. Women have become targets for their abusive partners, their controlling, manipulative partners. They've become targets, for other situations, or even in situations, but it's usually domestic. It's usually with relational issues. Yes, Rika, it's usually when they leave because they decide to break free from these abusive relationships. And every day I would open up the newspaper and I would see another woman is murdered. Another woman is murdered. Another one is shot. She's shot by her husband. He was a cop, whatever the case may be. Another one was strangled, and it's like this right here And it's amazing how I would go into relationships open-minded because I'm thinking to myself, it gets to the point that you can't put all of your trust. You can put some, but you can't put all, because when you decide to surrender yourself to someone else, when they're giving you the nice smile, or because they look good or they smell good, or they're love bombing, they're doing all of this, you don't know where their mind is. You don't know what they are capable of doing in any situation. Do you think some of the abusers really believe they love the victim? I believe anything's possible. I believe that because of them being so deluded, their minds are they're so delusional. They believe their own lies. They believe that they're justified in their actions. I believe that, yeah, they believe the opposite of the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is it's obsession, it's not love. They become obsessed. They become so fixated because in situations where abuse is going on in relationships, it's usually somewhere along the lines where the victim has shown some form of fear, whatever fear that is, okay? You could pick whatever fear that may be, but they have shown some form of fear, and the person who is seeking to manipulate that person, who's seeking to control that person, will use that fear against them, whether it be by intimidation, whether it be by, complete bullying or physical abuse, physical restraint. They see fear as a weakness, which is why when they're in these relationships, they are physical altercations. Let's just say that two people, a man and a woman, are arguing, and she's getting her point across. She's saying that, she's speaking facts. He doesn't like that. But that man is, 6'3", and that woman is 5'4". So because he can't get her up here, what he's going to do is he's going to get her physically. Okay? He's going to intimidate her. He's going to put fear in her. And the minute she flinches, the minute she shows that there is a fear, he knows what to do. He knows how to use that fear. And from that point on, he knows how to get what he wants. He knows how to control a situation. It's like the thought of you being happy without them drives them crazy. Well, because it does. It does. Because these people are incapable of creating their own happiness. Narcissists, sociopaths, anybody who is just so insecure, so miserable with themselves, who just, can't handle the reality of not everyone is like me. Okay? Misery loves company, right? So the idea of you being happy with someone else, them trying to get you back, them trying to get back in your good graces, them trying to be a part of your life, has nothing to do with you. Literally, it has nothing to do with you. So when you have victims that feel flattered or feel some kind of way, like, oh, well, see, those tables turn, look at you coming back to me, honey. It's not because they realized that the grass wasn't so green on the other side. It was because they really didn't get what they wanted, or they got bored with what they had, and they decided you're the next best thing. You're the next best alternative. Okay? It's not about I'm better than the next person. Let me explain something here. Okay? And I want to make something perfectly clear, because I noticed that a lot of people would love to go against victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse, because they try to sit there and be like, oh, y'all are just some bitter people who couldn't handle a breakup. Screw you. And anybody who thinks like that, screw you. Okay? I said it. Screw you. Okay? It's not the fact. First of all, we're all human beings, and people are like the seasons, okay? We change every single day. If the person decided they wanted to be with someone else, That is their choice. They're not obligated. Okay. They are not obligated to be with you. The last person I was with, he was not obligated to be with me. All right. They're not obligated to be with you. And I think what people misconstrue is that they think that, oh, well, because the person left me for someone else, that is the reason why I'm so, feeling this way. And that's why I'm accusing them of narcissistic abuse. No, it has nothing to do with that. That happens on an everyday basis. People leave relationships for other people all the time. That has nothing to do with it. It's a shitty move. It's a really messed up move, but it happens. What gets victims and survivors pissed off and upset and traumatized is the ordeal that they have gone through within that relationship. And then when the discard came, lack of clarity, gaslighting, breadcrumbing, trying to make that person feel like they are going crazy, they don't know what they're talking about, just to avoid any form of accountability of what happened in the relationship prior to discard, during discard, and post discard. Okay? That is where the problem lies. You guys were not bitter people. And even if you were bitter at the time, you had every right to be bitter. You had every right to feel the way you felt. You had every right to be pissed off. You had every right to feel angry. I mean, come on. You had someone who treated you this way and then discarded you and then had the audacity to walk around and try to pretty much shame you, in that they try to give a false narrative about you to other people simply because they are shitty people. They make shitty moves. Those are very grimy moves. And people who don't take accountability for those exact grimy moves are the same people who will sit there and put you out there on Front Street. You can't get over me. You're mad because I'm with someone else. They make me happy. They make me more happy than you ever could, and blah, 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 and all this bullshit. Okay? That's what they feed you. It doesn't matter if they wanted to be with someone else. It doesn't matter if they wanted to be with several different people. It doesn't matter if they wanted to, to go out there and screw half the block. It doesn't matter. What matters is how you treated me during the relationship, how you tried to play me at the end of the relationship, and then how you try to make me feel and seem as if I was the one who was toxic. I was the one who was making shit up in my own head. And I was the one who was pretty much the whole reason why all of this ended. That is where the problem lies. And that is why I will never, ever sit here and not fight for people, because I know what you guys have gone through. I know what you guys have gone through. The refusal to give closure. The refusal to give closure is simply because they have no intention on giving you closure. How many times, listen, I've I've seen it all. I've heard it all. I've been there. Okay, when someone tells you, you're like, you know what? I'm just so done. I'm over it. Maybe we should just go our separate ways. Because they see that you're putting your foot down and you're looking to walk away because you are finally done, and they notice that. Okay, fine. I'll do whatever you want. You notice how they'll try to become compliant with you? They'll try to comply with the things that you want. Okay, fine. I'll show you some respect. Okay, fine. I'll have consideration for you. Okay, fine. I won't talk to these other women or these other guys on social media. Okay, you want me to get rid of this? You want my password? You want this? You want that? First of all, if I got to go through all that shit, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. Okay? I had never, ever, in any of my relationships, have I ever gone through anyone's phone, with the exception of one time, because I just needed confirmation, because my gut was telling me something, and my gut was right. My gut was right. I said, if I ever had to have a reason to go through a partner's phone, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. It makes no sense to stay in a situation if I cannot fully trust the person. Okay? My last relationship never went through his phone. I never went through his things. I never did any of those things. Okay? I allowed him his own privacy. He had his own, he had his own. I never did any of those things. But on the flip side of it, I didn't. I didn't. And it's crazy because my things have been gone through. My phone has been gone through, okay? There have been other things that I'm sure he has done that I can't say, but at the end of the day, he already knows what I'm referring to. And you know what? Regardless of everything, there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. But it's not about you wanting to be with someone else. They want to be with us. They're gonna want to be with other people. They're gonna want to be with other people. They're always gonna see something that's shinier. They're gonna see someone who they deem to be prettier or they deem to be more handsome. It's always gonna be something. It's always gonna be something. But it's not about the whys. It's not about the whys. It's about the hows. How you handled everything. How you handled everything. Let me tell you something. Karma doesn't care about the why. Karma cares about the hows. Okay? I understand this is what you want. But now what are you going to do to get this outcome? And you have to be careful with how you do certain things to get that outcome, because you better believe if you're not careful about it, it's going to bite you in the ass. That compliance lasted all of 5 minutes. She switched back to demon mode immediately. It's because it's not genuine, so it's not intentional. They don't intend on it. They don't intend on it. They'll tell you what you want to hear just to get you back in that complacent mode. They'll tell you, okay, I'll do this, I'll do that. I'll compliment you. I'll do whatever the case may be. They'll tell you these things, but this is simply to just get you, just play nice with you for a little bit, but it's going to be back to the same shit. It will be back to the same shit. You will be back in the same damn freaking cycle, doing the same damn things, having the same damn conversations or arguments. It won't. Rika, it's coffee. I'm sipping on some coffee, guys. I've been up since 7 this morning, so I'm trying. It's not that I don't want to be here, guys. I just want to make sure I'm caffeinated. They're like, okay, I'll act like a civilized human being for 2 weeks, and then they go right back to it. And it's me. I don't, I don't redo. Like I've never redone relationships. If you're an ex, you're an ex. That's just the way it is for me. Everybody's different, and I don't knock anyone for giving second chances. And it's funny because when me and Amanda, we were having the conversation, and I was like, I'm trying to understand. Like it was like, what was it? It was like I'm a 2-year-old and you're speaking geometry, because it's like I'm trying to understand. I'm like, but wait a minute, hold up. I'm just like, okay, so. But how can you forgive? Like I understand forgiving someone, but how do you let that person back in? Like I literally didn't understand how you let that person back in after they betrayed your trust. That's my mindset. How do you let someone back in after they've betrayed your trust? And please, anybody, hey Gil, anybody, please tell me. After someone betrays your trust, if they've shown you, some people are like, oh, well, you get 2 chances, other people, you get 25, everybody's different. But my question is, how do you allow someone back in who made you an option? How do you allow someone back in who basically disrespected you in front of so many other people, emasculated you, or make you feel some kind of way? How do you let them back in? I truly cannot let people back in after that, after the first time. And and there's a difference between putting up a boundary and not forgiving someone and holding a grudge, because I have forgiven all the people, even my ex. I have forgiven everybody from my past, but I cannot, for the love of me, I cannot reopen that, like my perception of them is different now. I completely see them in a different light. I don't see them the same way anymore. So suffice it to say, if I don't see you the same way anymore, I can't put you back in that same, I can't give you that same position in my life. I can't do it. I literally, like, no, literally, guys, I just literally can't do it. I've taken people back, but I can honestly say it's never the same. That's another thing for me. I've lost trust for you, right? You have shown me that I cannot trust you. And then my mind frame is, do I want to put myself in a position where I'm going to drive myself crazy, wondering, is this person lying to me? Is this person, forgiveness again is one thing. You can forgive someone and walk away. You don't have to let them back in your life. I've, again, forgiven people from my past. I had to, in order to progress in my life, I had to forgive them and I put them in God's hands. But I just, for some freaking reason, I'm just like, no, I can't let you back in. I cannot let you back in. You played a double agent. You played a double agent. And people can come to you and say, oh, listen, I've been hurt throughout my life, and that's a defense mechanism. Yeah, but you still were conscious when you were doing it. You still had a choice. Listen, to this very day, hi, Wheeler, how are you? Most people want things back to how they were before the betrayal, and that's just it. It's never going to happen. It's never going to be that way, because a betrayal, you've seen that post, it's a shattered glass. Try putting it back together. It's got cracks. It's got, it just will never be the same. It will never be the same. And I see. Thank you, Wheeler. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, Turquoise says, I just don't trust them after that. I gave you chance after chance during the relationship. What's going to change if I take you back? I no longer find them attractive at all. Oh, thank you, Wheeler. Thank you, sweetheart. And I completely understand, Turquoise. I completely understand that. It's, you lose all attraction for the person, because it's like it's just, listen, for me, it's like, if I love the person, I'm in a relationship with them, I'm devoted to them, I'm, committed to them, and I find out that that person did something really deceptive, really betrayal, cheated on me or whatever. How do you come back from that? How do you come back from that? And just the level of disrespect alone, because disrespect, betrayal is the key word, but there are different forms of betrayal. Disrespect is betrayal. You know, disrespect is betrayal. Manipulation is betrayal. Cheating, infidelity, that's betrayal. I mean, and for me, it's just, there's just too much water. Like, I'm at that point where if there's too much water under the bridge, it just makes no sense. It makes no sense. And mind you, considering the fact that the person that I dealt with didn't even attempt to apologize for anything that they said or did. Not once did they attempt to do it. Not once. And they had plenty of opportunity to do it, but they never did it. They never did it. So now I'm supposed to go years and years without getting any form of an apology because, truthfully, it's warranted. But I'm supposed to now be like, okay, after all these years, now I'm supposed, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. That's why they get more cruel every time you go back, because now they feel you deserve it. They know you should have been left. You said it, Rika. They've had no respect for you. And now, with you taking them back, it's confirmed even more. It's confirmed even more. It's like, okay, I saw you here. Now I'm seeing you way down here. Notice you can't even see my hand because they have no respect for you. Erica, why do narcissists come back when you're strong? I think it's primarily, they come back because they want to get you stuck on them again. They want to get you back in their web. They want your mind fixated on them. They want you to, think about them in that positive way. But I think primarily they come back to test you. I think they come back to test you. Okay, because they don't expect you to get to this point. If you get to a point of strength, to the point where you're resistant, like you resist. Maybe you didn't resist before, but now you're so strong that you're like, it's a challenge for them. It's a challenge for them. And I've come to learn that the more you reject the idea, or if you even just say, listen, no, I'm not interested, I'm good, they will keep trying in subtle ways. They'll keep trying in other ways. They'll keep trying in other ways. And even if you turn them down for a relationship, they'll try to get back into your circle, into your environment, by simply saying, look, we don't have to get together. We don't have to be in a relationship. Let's just be friends. We can be friends. We can just hang out, and we don't have to do anything or whatever. But it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit, because they have every and all intention to really worm their way back in so they could just do it all over again. I went through the same thing, no apology at all. The disrespect was closure for me. And that's the one thing that I've learned. The one thing that I've learned is it doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't. It doesn't matter anymore. You can sit there and you can wait on it. You can wait for it. You can sit by the phone for it. You can sit by your door for it. You could just wait and wait and wait, but it doesn't matter anymore. Again, with all the time that goes by, the water under the bridge just keeps going and going and going. Stuff's in the bags over there. Sorry about that, guys. The water just keeps, it keeps rising and rising and rising. And it's they're thinking, well, if I give it more time, or, maybe they'll forget about it. Maybe they'll kind of, their mind won't think about it as much. The more they give you time, they're thinking that you'll eventually get over it. And that way, when they pop back up, you'll just have those, warm, fuzzy thoughts, and you'll just be like, oh, yeah, it's been a long time or whatever. That time that you're taking to heal is going to slam the door in their face. And just trust and believe, guys, if they do decide to come back into your life, or they do decide to try to make any kinds of attempts and you reject them, please, please, please be prepared. Just be prepared. And you have to be prepared for anything. Anything. Okay? I've known people who would literally try to make other people's lives miserable simply because they got rejected. Harassing you, showing up at your job, harassing your family, your friends, whatever, just to try to really, really get to you. I used to think giving chances makes your partner know how much you value them and the relationship. Not anymore. It sounds like it does that, but it's counterintuitive. It actually does the opposite. It creates the opposite effect. Hi, Sergio. All right, Riri. I'm almost 2 years no contact. August 10th makes 2 years from me. Awesome. But yeah, it does sound like it would do that. And that's the problem that a lot of victims had. They figured if I stay longer, if I do more, if I give more, if I'm, if I try to love this person more or save this person more, and all it does is that the more you did, the more you do, it gives you an opposite effect. It gives you the opposite effect. It just lets them know that I don't respect myself. So, and that's their mindset, guys. I don't respect, this person doesn't respect themselves. They're willing to let me do and say whatever I want to do. They're willing to let me do and say whatever I want to do. I was just having this conversation on TikTok when I was explaining to them, when they're like, does a narcissist ever change? Do they change? Do they ever get healed, or do they ever? And it's why should I change if I can get away with stuff? Why should I change? Why should I change if all it takes is, a fat ass and big boobs to get you to buy me things, or, to get you to do things, to come to my will? Why? Why should I? Why should I change if all I got to do is give you sweet little words and tell you what you want to hear, just so I can get what I want out of you, and then disrespect you in the process and still see that you're here? You're still sitting here. You're sitting there thinking, if I love them more, if I, show them certain things, they'll change and they'll consider me, they'll consider my feelings and emotions. They're sitting there thinking, you're a fool. You're a fool. And unfortunately, we've been victims of that, guys. We've all been guilty of that. And listen, at the end, they're nobody to be calling you anything, and they're nobody to be determining your value or trying to determine your value. But the longer you stay, the more you go back, you got to understand that they're devaluing you, but you're helping them. And this is for anybody who continuously goes back. This is for anybody who sits there and thinks that things are going to change, and if I stay here just a little bit longer and hold on just a little bit tighter, they're devaluing you, and you're helping them. Hey, Erica, it gets complicated when they leave, claim to be the victim when they leave all of a sudden, and to do false accusations. And you know something? I was, again, having this conversation with Amanda when I was telling her about, my last situation. And I was saying, it's amazing how it's kind of like, those, okay, for example, you have a girl who constantly hits a guy, right? She's constantly slapping him and disrespecting him. And because he's trying so hard not to hit her back, he's trying so hard to just be like, all right, you know what? He's trying to get away from her, but she keeps going and she keeps going and she keeps going at him. Eventually, he pops her in the mouth. Let's just say that. He pops her in the mouth. He hits her. All of a sudden, she's the victim. She calls the cops. Who's getting arrested in that situation? It's no different. It's no different. Okay, they poke and poke and poke and poke and poke. And then when you decide to snap back, or you decide to react, and because you just can't take it anymore, then what happens? Boom. Your actions become consequences because they're now crying victim. They weren't telling anybody that. This is why, like, when I see this stuff on social media, I see it all the time, and I'm so sick and tired of seeing it. I really, really am sick and tired of seeing it. For example, a lot of these females sitting there talking about, I'm exposing this person, I'm exposing that person. And it's like, I know the difference between exposing and exploiting. I know the difference between the two, okay? And what a lot of these people are doing is they're exploiting people. They're exploiting people, okay? They do it for clout, they do it for likes, they do it for whatever reason. That's what they do it for. And it's like, I'm honestly, I hate it here. I'm not even going to deny it. I hate it here. I can't even go online sometimes to even watch funny videos if I wanted to without seeing some form of stupidity online. Yeah, I mean, who talks to people like that? Things they say to people is so evil and disgusting. Often, believe it or not, guys, believe it or not, and I'm not, I don't justify abusive behaviors, but a lot of them were spoken to like that by their caregivers. A lot of them were spoken to like, if basically a lot of them were devalued as kids with their narcissistic, or abusive parents. A lot of them were. That's where they got a lot of that. That's where they learned a lot of that from. They pretty much, you got to remember, a narcissist is the kind of person who tried to live up to the standards of people who didn't give a shit about them. Okay? Didn't give a shit about their feelings, didn't give a damn about, where they were coming from, emotional connections, love, nothing. Okay? So when you're dealing with someone who spent the majority of their life trying to live up to standards of people who were just as selfish as they were, okay, and then not only that, criticized for not living up to whatever other expectations those parents had, think about where they learned it from, these behaviors from. Okay, think about where they learned it from. If you have a guy who is abusive towards, let's say you have a man who's abusive towards women, right? Constantly abusive towards women. Chances are his father was abusive towards his mother, but because his mother was an enabler and she stayed in the relationship, okay, she showed her son that abuse is okay. What the father did was wrong. What the father did was wrong, but she showed her son by her staying in this dynamic, in this abusive dynamic, that it's okay. It's okay that your father hit me. I'm still here. I'm still raising the family. I'm still, and in any kind of abusive situation, yes, it's a struggle. Yes, it's hard. Yes, there's a lot of fear behind it. But if there are children in the house and you are being physically abused, you have to get out. You have to get out. I got served court papers last week from her again. She's claiming I smoke and drink in front of my son. All BS. I went today to get the hair drug test. It goes back 90 days. She screwed it. There you go. She's going to do anything and everything possible to make it harder for you. Okay? To make it, she knows that these things aren't true. But the longer she drags this on, by claiming certain things, by doing all of these things, the longer the justice process is going to be. That's all it really is. Because if she knows that there's no chance of her winning anything, or anything being in her favor, screw it. Why not just drag it along then? Why not drag it along? Do narcissists always try to come back to old supply after their new supply? They usually do. They usually do. And it depends on what is happening with the new supply. If the new supply is like fueling them to the point where they're over fueling them, they may not try to come back right away. Because if they're embedded in their new supply, the new supply is giving them attention, is giving them gratification, is giving them, the ego stroking. They're pretty much fulfilling, or should I say filling the narcissist tank. So if that individual is getting their ego stroked by the new supply, but once they get bored, which majority of the time they do, they get bored easily. Once they get bored with the situation, or because remember, I've said it before, guys, they watch you even though they're in other relationships. They do watch you. They watch what you do. They watch who you're dealing with. They watch everything. Okay. And even if they get to a point where they see that you're moving on, you're dealing with someone else, you're being with someone else. I mean, listen, when it boils down to them, they may even let their supply go just to try to come back and reel you back in. That's possible too. That is possible too. Remember, listen, a narcissist, I'm going to tell you something. A lot of them don't give a damn if you have meaningless relationships with other people, meaning a lot of them don't care if you have just sexual relationships with other people, casual relationships, nothing serious, okay? A lot of them don't care about that. They don't care about friends with benefits. They don't care about you just, dealing with someone else, because as long as it's not serious, there is no chance of their supply, being you, being taken away from them completely. There's no chance of that. Oh, Sergio, thank you, sweetheart. Thank you, honey. Thank you so much. Just know, guys, any donations that you guys make, I keep it in a PayPal account and I use it to buy whatever materials I would need for the channel. So I'm actually looking to buy a more a better camera, like a vlogging type of camera. So your donations are all appreciated. Anybody who donates to me, it's always appreciated, and it goes to good cause. It goes to the channel. Do you believe in toxic codependency, meaning someone who serves to help a toxic cluster B personality? Or are they narcs too? Usually, it's funny that you mentioned that. For example, inverted narcissists. Inverted narcissists are codependent, covert narcissists, which pretty much is that, it says it in itself. Okay. There is a level of codependency there. They are codependent on the kind of people who represent the narcissistic toxic behaviors. Okay. For whatever reasons. For whatever reasons. But it's, for example, if you have, let's say, for example, you're dating a man who is a narcissist. Now, say he's an inverted narcissist, and his mother is a narcissist. He often you'll notice that the dynamic between him and his mother is it's a very codependent dynamic, meaning they depend, they rely on one another, but it's not a healthy dynamic. It's not a healthy dynamic. Oftentimes, these people, inverted narcissists, are usually more complacent in very toxic relationships with other narcissists or other cluster Bs, just like you said, other people with personality disorders, because that's the lifestyle that they grew up in. That was their environment. So because of the fact that they've grown up in this and they become, so codependent in this, they end up remaining in the kind of relationships that are like this. Inverted narcissists, just like any other narcissist, they are the same way, but they're the same way towards you being a non-narcissist. You being a non-narcissist, that relationship, that narcissistically abusive relationship, is pretty much pervasive. It's just, it goes accordingly. But if you were a narcissist, if you were another narcissist, let's say, for example, you rejected that inverted narcissist, it wouldn't faze them. Them being discarded by another narcissist, another toxic individual, it would not faze them. But if they were discarded by you being a non-narcissist, the same reaction as with any other narcissist, they're going to give it to you as well. You got to remember, guys, in your relationships, because you don't suffer cluster B personality disorder, you're not doing the things that represent that particular type of disorder. So what you're doing is your actions, your behaviors, everything that you do in that relationship, you are pretty much, like I always say, you're putting a mirror to their face. Okay. You are showing them precisely the opposite of who they are. You have not self-love, because a lot of us were codependent, so that was indicative of not having much self-love. But you have empathy, you have love, you're nurturing, you're the kind of person that just, you had a bubbly personality, you were just sweet and just, kind and caring. So because you were all of these things, which is the total opposite of who they are, and of course they see themselves in a very distorted way, but they're not going to tell you that. Losing that, even though they won't admit it, losing that is like, it's like a huge drop in the stock market for them. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like a huge drop in the stock market. Because the reality of it is that even though they're incapable of being empathetic and loving people and sustaining emotional connections with people, they love the way it makes them feel. They love the way it makes them feel. Okay? And they could tell you otherwise. They could say you ain't shit. They could say, oh, this person is better than you. But if you really, really look close and read between the lines, because in translation, when they say, you can never do better than me, who are you gonna find that's better than me? That translates to, I am so fucking scared that you're gonna find someone better than me. This is why I can't let you know, I can't have you know this, because the minute you know this, you will abandon me. You're ugly. That translates to you're beautiful, and I know so many other people want you. And yes, I am lucky to have you, even though I don't deserve you. Being a narcissist is a disorder. The lying, the manipulation, and all the bullshit that goes on, those are decisions. Being a narcissist it's you know what, Sergio? I wanna play devil's advocate here for a second. I was just about to say that, Ty. Both. I was just about to say that because it's you can have a parent who's a narcissist and have other children who don't turn out to be narcissists. They have it's just a matter of how they internalize that abuse. To become a narcissist, you have to be so riddled with insecurity and inadequacies. Like, you feel so inadequate that the person who was abusing them as children, like stripping their identity, literally must have felt like, well, that person that was abusing them literally must have put it onto them that they're nothing. That child was nothing. You're nothing. You'll be nothing like me, and you'll never amount to anything. I mean, it could be anything. And that child more than likely literally had to just absorb that to the point where they actually believed it. They actually believed it. And over time, because you got to remember, kids are sponges. Their brains are sponges. They learn. Hatred is learned. Love is learned. Okay? Racism is learned. You're not born a racist. No one is. These are things that are taught. These are things that children learn. Okay? If you teach your child how to hate, your child's going to live their life hating. But if you teach them how to love, they're going to live their life loving. Yes. Just what Ty says. They're a product of either praised too much or neglected. It's an extreme it's an extreme of either or. So generally what that would mean is that you would have two types. You would have the scapegoats, or you would have the golden childs. The scapegoats are the ones who receive the nasty abuse. They receive the constant put downs, constant letdowns. They receive the backlash of whatever abusive parent they had. The golden child were usually the ones who were very compliant. Children. The golden child is the ass kisser. Okay? They're the ass kisser. They're the ones who kiss the narcissistic parent's ass. So because they're compliant with that parent rewards them. That parent rewards them pretty much by projecting their ego onto that child. So they have that child believing that you are special. You are more special than everyone else. You are one of a kind. You deserve the best. You deserve everything, and no one can tell you otherwise. And anything you want, you shall have. Get it by any means necessary. They are projecting their ego onto that child. And because they were projecting that onto that child grew up thinking just as the narcissistic parent thinks. The scapegoat ones are the ones who are very toxic, low vibrational people. You can see it, you can feel it. That's just their disposition. The other types, the grandiose types, are the types that are very, self-absorbed, very high and mighty. They walk in like with, like if they're self-righteous and, I'm one of a kind, and I'm an important person, and it's all a facade. It's all a facade. I notice narcs kiss up to certain people. What are characteristics that makes a narc not to want certain people to see how messed up they are? Well, usually the grandiose narcissists are the types that just run the smear campaign. So it's pretty much, if I can't have you, if I can't get what I want, then I'm just going to destroy you. I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to destroy your name. I'm just going to destroy everything about you. The vulnerable types of narcissists, which are the, like the scapegoated narcissist, the closet narcissist, whatever you want to call them, those are the ones who usually withdraw. They withdraw and usually would go into severe narcissistic collapse. So they basically withdraw from people, they withdraw from the spotlight, they withdraw from any and everybody. The grandiose types are the ones they'll fight tooth and nail to the end to get everyone on board with them to try to destroy you. Mm-hmm. Ty says you're either my favorite or I wish I never had you. So, yeah. So you're either the golden child or you're the scapegoat. It's like they choose who they want to see them as evil and they choose who they want to see them as a hero. It's sick. That's exactly what they do. If they feel that the people in their surroundings are important in a sense that, it could be anybody in their surroundings. It could be anybody. Their main thing is just to walk around with a mask, giving the false impression that they're humble, that they're kind, that they're nurturers, that they're, pillars of the community, that they do, such great things, because narcissists, their egos are so fragile. The slightest criticism will send them into, like, like a crab, if you try to like approach a crab, what does the crab do? They back up or whatever. That's pretty much how a narcissist reacts. A narcissistic person, if they're criticized, their egos, they appear to be, and it's crazy how they can walk the face of this earth and just swear up and down that their shit don't stink, or swear up and down that they can do better, get better, find better, whatever. And the slightest thing that you say or do can totally diminish their ego. Did you know that? The reason for the constant coming and going, think of it like a wash rag. They will use you until it's time to put you in the dirty clothes. When you're clean again, they're ready for you again. Which leads me to ask the same daggone question. After the first time, how do people allow people back in after a betrayal? I honestly, I think everything happens within the relationship for me. Like, everything happens within the dynamic. And I think that's one of the reasons why people try to gaslight me so much, like really try to like push it in there, like, you're crazy, Erica. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're seeing, and blah, blah, blah. Because they know that once I gain clarity of a situation, I don't I don't go back to situations. I don't go back in that direction anymore. I don't. I don't. Maybe at the time of a discard, I'm begging, I'm crying. I was like, I'll change. I'll be what you want. I care. I mean, that's how I was during my discard. I was begging. I was, asking, please give me a chance to prove myself. Like, whatever it is I needed to do, and simply because I was trying so hard for this person not to leave. Never cheated on them. Never went out of my way to disrespect them. I never did any of those things. So I was finding it hard to understand why it was happening. But once, hi Sky, but once I caught the glimpse of things that were just it was just eye-opening for me. It was like, no, 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 oh, no, no, no. Then it was, that's when I knew. But a lot of people in my past, people from my past have made it have made it to where, let me do this within the relationship, because chances are, if this girl finds out what I'm doing, or if this girl finds out what I intend on doing, or what's really going on, you know, I don't know. I guess maybe they never had any intention on me going anywhere because I was so codependent. But once I gain clarity of the situation, I do not, I do not go back to those situations. I to this day I have not gone back with an ex. I've never gone back to an ex. Never. Once it's over, it's over. That's it. It's done. I've never done it. Exactly, Heather. Don't look back. You aren't going that way. How do I deal with a narcissist father because I can't take it anymore? One of the things we got to understand, guys, one, you'll never win arguments with them. Two, you're wrong, they're right. Three, it's their way or the highway. These are things that are, applicable in relationships with narcissists, whether it be your relationships or your family, friends, work, or even church. It's a never-ending battle. It will be a never-ending battle. Narcissist fathers, they're just much like any other, I guess you could say, any other male narcissist, that when you're not backing down, they'll try to use their authority or try to use their strength or their force or whatever to impose their will upon yours. You know, the only thing I can say with regards to family members who are narcissistic, who are narcissists, you're just gonna have to put your distance. You're gonna have to put a big gap between you guys. And as much as some people would sit there and say, well, we're family, it's impossible. Nothing's impossible. Nothing is impossible. Okay? Nothing is impossible. Sometimes you just got to see things for what they really are and say to yourself, my sanity and my peace is not worth losing it, not even for my mom, not even for my dad, not even for my sisters, my brothers, my aunts, uncle. It's not worth losing it. It's not. If these people had any kind of consideration for you, any kind of courtesy for you, then something, they would try to compromise and meet you halfway or something, but they're not doing it. So why should you bend over backwards? Why should you have to be the one to constantly, I'm not moving, I'm staying right here. So okay, I guess I got to get up and pull my chair and move over to you. No, no. Yeah, Rika says save your money and get away. There you go. There you go. I would never understand those people though. They'd be so ready to go back to toxicity. You have people, and it's funny because you have people who are so accustomed to toxicity, it's exhilarating for them. It's like it's intoxicating for them, you know? They think toxicity is love. Oh, this person's jealous. They're so jealous. They must really love me. No, 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 no. Love is not jealousy. Love is not jealousy. Love is not insecurity. Love is not trying to make your partner jealous or insecure. That's not love. Jealousy stems from fear, in which they want control. They want control. So when someone becomes jealous, it's because they feel like they're losing control within a situation. Because if they were so secure with themselves, there would be no need to be jealous or be reactive towards anything, because it's not required. Yeah, they will definitely try to intimidate you by yelling. Hey, Eric, I heard that there are similarities between autism and narcissism. Okay, because my son is autistic. Okay, my son is autistic, and my son shows emotions. My son is, he understands feelings and emotions, and even if I'm not feeling well, or if he's like, "Mom, are you okay? Are you all right?" So narcissism, much like borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, okay? Those all can get misdiagnosed because the behaviors for each of those personality disorders are very similar, okay? They kind of resemble one another, so it's kind of hard to determine which one the person might be. Children with autism, first of all, it's a cognitive issue. It's a neurological issue that they are born with. Okay? Narcissists, narcissists are not born with narcissism. They're not born with narcissism. A child with autism, okay, learns just as a child who is non-autistic. They learn the same thing. They learn the same thing. The only difference between the two is that a child with autism has severe neurological issues. Okay, it's an imbalance. It's an imbalance within the brain. So they have certain things that may resemble, for example, the lack of empathy. People say, "Oh, well, people with autism have a lack of empathy." They don't know how to process it. I had to teach my son manually about empathy. Okay, these are things that, well, let's go back for a second. You have a lot of people who are parents to autistic children, who are parents to grown autistic children, who often lived in denial, which, you know what happens with autism when you leave it unattended. It gets worse and worse and worse over time. But teaching our children, autistic or not, teaching them emotions and empathy and showing them, listen, Helen Keller was born blind and deaf. Okay? Helen Keller was born blind and deaf. And she learned. She learned. Okay? So if you're gonna tell me, you're gonna give me someone who was born without seeing and hearing, and we have children who were born autistic, who were born not autistic, who were born with, Asperger's or what have you. They only know what we teach them, what we can teach them. You take the time to teach your child, your autistic child, about love, emotions, sympathy, empathy, hatred, you know, hell, even racism. You take the time to teach your child any of these things, they're going to apply these things in their life. You don't take the time to do any of these things, they're only going to be able to do what it is that they know or what it is they're capable of doing. But my son was born with autism. He was diagnosed at 2 years old. Happy baby, very, very fun and just, bouncy, bouncy baby. Over time, yes, he has become, thank you, Sergio. He has become, I mean, he's a teenager now. He's 15. Teenage boys. They don't want to be bothered. They're like, Mom, just let me be, which is fine. But my son knows. My son, first of all, knows right from wrong. He knows when something is wrong. He knows when something is wrong. He knows when it's good. He knows when it's bad. He knows when mommy hits a certain octave in her voice that she's pissed off. He knows to back down. He knows that if mom is sitting here crying, he comes to me, Mom, are you okay? What's the matter? He knows. And you know how he knows these things, guys? Because I taught him these things. I teach him emotions. I taught him feelings. I taught him to understand that this is no, that's bad. Okay, that's good. You understand? Our children learn based on what we teach them. There is no excuse for a child who has autism, who has, whatever, unless Their brain is so incapacitated unless that the severity of their disability, okay, because it's a neurological disability, unless it's their brain is so incapable of sustaining the information that is being put in there. No, no, I debunk it. I'm debunking. I'm a mom of a child with autism, and I have taught my son, just like I would any other child if I had any that did not have autism. It's what they learn from the parents. A narcissist is someone who basically took on the identity of an abuser and has utilized their free will to continue with that identity of that same abuser and project it onto other people. They cannot sit there and make excuses for their behaviors. They cannot sit there and say, well, my dad was abusive, my mom was abusive. Listen. I understand everybody has a dark past. Everybody has issues. We've all had, certain things go on in our lives, but we also have free will. We also make choices. And at the end of the day, if you choose to lie to someone, if you choose to manipulate someone, that's your choice. That's your choice. You choose to disrespect someone. No one holds a gun to their head. Do you see any of these people walking around with a gun to their head? Were they standing there disrespecting you with a gun to their head? No, they weren't. They weren't. But they will sit there and blame everybody else. My mom made me do it. My dad made me do it. My cousins made me do it. My family, this is how my family is. If you know this is how your family is, and this is some shitty ass behavior, why aren't you doing anything to change something about that? They're not going to do anything because they've managed to get away with it. They've managed to get away with it with so many other people. There were other people before you, and these other people never came and spoke up about it. They never said anything about it, maybe because they always got away with it. Why? You understand? Why would they change? Why would they give it up? No. I thank you, Wheeler. Thank you so much. She told me, let's be friends. Yeah. No. No, they always ended with that. Let's at least be friends. Let's still be in each other's lives. What is the line? I'd rather have you in my life than not have you at all. Listen. I'd rather with a fucking cactus before I even go back to that. Straight up. I said it. I said what I said. I didn't use the word, but I said what I said. Okay? I will make love to a cactus before I go to any nonsense like that again. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. The cheating didn't mean it. Oh yeah, they don't mean anything to me. You're the one I want. You're the one I always wanted. You're the one I want to be with. You're the one of my. Listen, let me explain something. If there ever come a time, because it happens, people do what they want to do in life, right? We're all adults, If you're gonna cheat, just own up to it. I'm not gonna sit here and give someone the sob story of I cheated, I slept with someone else, but and then sit here and fill your head up with with sweet nothings and careless whispers and all that crap. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. Because that's so manipulative. It's like, listen, okay, yeah, I cheated. It happened. I mean, what am I supposed to do about it? I'm not trying to be a bee about it, but but to sit there and do it and then say, I screwed this person, but I make love to you. Man, listen. These people, and the crazy part about it is that because they seek external validation and they seek external, they seek to feel desired, and they feel like, they seek to want these things from external people. You don't know who they're sleeping with. You don't know who they're dealing with. You don't know, listen, they might like to go out there and dilly-dally around, do orgies and threesomes and all kinds. I mean, come on. Who has time for that? All to come back to you and say, okay, after they done sold all their freaking oats all over the place, to come back to you and say, All right, I'm ready to settle down now. I'm ready to be with you and spend the rest of my life with you. No, the hell you're not. Not over here. I couldn't even wish my dad a happy Father's Day. I don't like my dad because he has hurt me and my mom and my brother. And you know something? You have every right to feel the way you do. You have every right to feel the pain, the anger, whatever feelings you come across. You have every right to feel that. You know, you can at some point in your life when you're ready, you can forgive, but it doesn't mean that you have to keep him in your life. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that, listen, if me and my mom had, we had a falling out or whatever the case may be, do I keep my distance? Sure. But it doesn't mean, I have to constantly, because when it boils down to my peace is important. I have to be 110% because I have a child. Okay. I have a child, which means that I will not let any family members, nor will I let any friends or acquaintances or anyone outside of the factor of my son affect my mental health, affect my peace. I will not let anyone do that. My son needs me first. My son will always need me. And for me to allow other people to affect my peace who sleep perfectly fine at night after they done messed up, tried to mess up my peace, no, no. Forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. It just means that you no longer let the offense take hold on you. Exactly. When he gets mad, he says he's the devil, and it scares me. It brings a mad negative energy into the house, and he won't stop saying it. You have to pray. You definitely have to pray. More than likely, I mean, listen, people who are like that have a lot of who carry dark energy. They probably have a really tormented past. They probably have, things attached to them. They can have negative things attached to them. There are so many different things but you definitely have to just, you have to really, really pray, pray in the name of Jesus and continue to really like try to force that out of, I mean, listen, your dad's going to be your dad, but try to force that out of your home, like that energy itself, force it out of your home. I for one see it this way. I don't know the whole circumstance, like the whole situation with your family, as far as the living situation is concerned, if he's the provider or whatever the case may be. But now would be a time, if you haven't already, and again, if you're living with that person, living under the same roof as that person, it would be a good time to really start thinking about projecting creating some form of a plan to break free from that situation. You can't save everyone. And by that, I mean, if it's by your own choice to get up and leave and walk out of that situation, your other remaining family members, if they want the same thing, then you guys can work together, put your heads together. Then you guys can put your heads together, work together to try to figure out a way to break free from that situation, to get out of that situation. If mom decides to stay, if your brother decides to stay, I mean, again, as much as you would want to save them from that, that's still also their choice. But if you are looking to break free, it would be best to start really looking into your finances, see where you sit financially, if you're able to have your own. And even if it's not your own apartment, even if it means you renting out a room just to get out of that situation, start looking to different alternatives, because you won't be able to heal in the same place that's tormenting you. It won't happen. It won't happen that way. You have to break free. You have to remove yourself from that situation and then Or maybe it would take you. It starts with you getting up and leaving and getting your life in order, getting your mental health back in order, regaining your peace of mind. And then you can be at a very, you could be at a coherent state where you can say, okay, now that everything's in order for me, now I got to try to, put some logic in with my other family members and try to break free from that, because narcissistic fathers are very intimidating. They can be bullies, like severe bullies. And I mean, chances are, if your mom hasn't left already, it's because she fears it. She's probably in severe fear. And it's understandable, because a narcissistic father in a dynamic, in a household, is a tyrant. He's a tyrant. They yell, they get volatile, they can become physically abusive, they can become, extremely verbally abusive. And yeah, it can become very, very scary, extremely scary. Yeah. You definitely have to, or maybe sit down with your mom and try to gather up some, try to just plan it. It takes planning, though. It does take planning, because situations like this, you have to make sure that you're secure, you're stable. Again, it's really about the financial status. I don't know your situation on that, but you have to be able to properly plan things out when you're trying to escape an abusive situation. It has to be planned out. It has to be, to the point where, okay, if we do this, then we'll know what to expect afterwards. But you got to make sure that because you can just get up and leave. You can do that. But if your finances aren't in order, or if certain things aren't together for you, and this is, of course, if you're trying to live within a dynamic, or a situation, or a place that won't require you to constantly either be constantly moving, or constantly, what's the word for it? I put it this way: a situation that where you have a cushion, you have financial security, you have everything in order. I'm usually one who says, listen, as if it's a situation where it's not great, it is toxic, but you're able to gather up your resources and get everything together. It may take a little bit, but get your stuff together, and then you can just up and leave. Then great, do it that way. Some people leave at the drop of a hat, and sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it's absolutely necessary, and they don't have the means to figure out what the next step is going to be, or what their future is going to look like, because sometimes it's just abrupt, you know. So think about definitely think about how you would handle that, or if you have the resources to plan everything out, to handle that, so you have a more secure future. His baby mother fights every woman he dates, accused him of abusing her, but always gets back with him, while he goes back and forth to her and multiple women. They're probably both codependent. They're probably both severe codependents and extremely toxic. I mean, they can be, narcissistic. They can be narcissistic. Oh yeah, women are the worst narcissists. Women are the worst narcs. They're the worst, because they run with the narrative. They cause all kinds of havoc and chaos and problems, and they're very petty, they're very vindictive, they're very, they're just the kind of people that listen. This is why, if most men are wondering why a lot of women don't approach men, is because they fear rejection. They fear rejection. There are women out there who see men that they are attracted to, and the only reason they won't approach them is because they fear rejection. Don't sit there sleeping on the idea of, oh, you know, she's not. No, women won't approach men because they fear rejection, but a narcissist female, she fears it the worst. His new girlfriend miscarried and she said the baby deserved to die. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. I can't stand females like that. I can't stand females like that. And for her to say something like that, listen, what people need to understand is that words are very powerful. Okay? Words are very powerful. They can create life or they can cause death. And at the end of the day, that's just more than likely they're abusive toward. I mean, clearly they're abusive towards each other. They're abusive towards each other. They're complacent with one another. That's probably a very lost cause. So I say let them stay with each other. Two less assholes on the street. I know, Sky. I know. I know the feeling of being drained and just wanting to break free from it and just not dealing with it. But it's something that I had said this to another person. It depends on how serious you are about your peace and your mental health. So if you want your peace, you want your mental health back in order, you still got a little bit more to go. But once everything is said and done, then you'll have the time to rest. You'll have the time to rest and then figure out what you're going to do from that point on. But yeah, that's horrible. But guys, it is 9:43. Yeah, that is a horrible thing. I would never ever wish death on any child, on anyone for that matter. But when it comes to children and babies, no, you just don't. Just certain things you don't do. Certain things you don't do. Um, so yeah, she has severe problems. She's more than likely severely codependent, that's for sure. But she can be just as equally narcissistic. There is, the narcissistic codependence. Narcissistic codependence exists too. They exist too. So we definitely can't fall asleep on those. But guys, I am about to call it a night. I gotta pull these lashes off, man. I have to. These suckers are killing me. They're killing me right now. I gotta pull them out. But I have a 3-day weekend, which means that I may have a chance to work on a video. My latest one that I put up is actually a recap of one that I had done before. And, I did put a trigger warning on it with regards to the truth about narcissists and how they act and how they are with people. And, it could be a very triggering audio because that's what it is. But definitely bears repeating, and it definitely bears listening to if you're trying to leave your narcissistic ex, you're trying to leave. Oh, by the way, I keep forgetting to mention that. Why didn't I forget? By the way, guys, just in case you didn't know, I do have a website. Okay, I do have a website. It's narcsurvival101.com. The website is, it's going to have blogs. It has all types of stuff on there. If you are looking to do one-on-ones or if you're looking to do group chats, you can now make appointments on there. Okay, so you just fill out the form and you just basically book the appointment on there. And once I receive it, I will confirm with you. The July schedule is on the website. Okay, it's on the website. So if you're trying to do a one-on-one or if you want to join the group chat, you go to narcsurvival101.com. Then you click on appointments. No, coaching. Click on coaching. It's going to give you July schedule. Figure out which day you want to use. Then click at the bottom. It's, it's a booking section. You can book it all in, and it'll let me know. It'll send me an email confirmation, and then I'll be able to confirm the date for you. All right. So narcsurvival101.com. My lovely peoples. I usually stay on a little bit longer. I usually have more to talk about, but I'll be honest, I am so exhausted. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. And I have so much I got to do this weekend. But to everybody who came tonight, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for showing love and support as you always do. You're always appreciated. To those who did not make it, but will catch it on the stream, just be sure to comment to let me know, and I'll be sure to respond to you when you do. So guys, I hope you guys have a beautiful 4th of July weekend. Okay, if you're going to eat, drink, be careful with the fireworks, guys. If you do fireworks, please be extremely, very careful. Yeah, Heather, I'm gonna lay down because I'm just so exhausted. As soon as I pull these out, be very, very careful with the fireworks, guys. Okay, if you're gonna be doing it, if you're going out, you're hanging out, drinking, what have you. You guys know me. Be very safe out there. I will be on TikTok on Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you have a TikTok, you can catch me on there. And other than that, be back here next Friday, same time, same place, and we'll talk about some more stuff. Is there something in my coffee cup? No, I'm not going to drink that. So beautiful people. Thank you, Rika, Heather. Hey, Robert. Sky, Turquoise. I know Ty was here. Guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you so much for just being a part of this whole movement. But don't forget to check out my website, narcsurvival101.com. And if you have any questions, you can always email me, narcsurvival101@gmail.com, or you can send me a message on the website, whichever way works for you. And yeah, all that good stuff. Ty, have a great 4th of July. Robert, you caught you caught us when we're leaving. But you could just go back. You can go back and you can catch it. And but I'll be back on Tuesday on TikTok. All right, guys. So I'll be trying to work on a new video for the channel. All right, and try to get some things done. I'm still working on my books, guys. I'm still working on my books. So a lot to do. Guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. Have a beautiful weekend. I'll see you all next week. Love, peace, God's blessings, protection, all that good stuff. Nothing but good vibes. And yeah, I guess that's it for now. Love you all, guys. Have a beautiful weekend. I'll see you next week. Good night.